It was a rainy night in Chicago, and I'd just finished a late shift at the diner. My feet ached. My phone was nearly dead, and I just wanted to get home. So I called an Uber. Driver's name was Eric. Silver Camry, 4.9 stars. Normal, right? As I climbed in, he greeted me by name. "You must be Tessa." Friendly enough. But then, halfway through the ride, he said something that made my blood turn to ice. "I used to pick you up from your high school sometimes. You always wore those red shoes." I froze. I grew up 300 miles from here. And those red shoes, I hadn't worn them in a decade. "I think you look better with short hair," he added casually. My heart began to pound. At first, I thought maybe he'd confused me with someone else. But the more he spoke, the more I realized he knew things. Very specific things. About my life. The name of my childhood dog. The street I lived on in 10th grade. My mother's red Jeep Cherokee. No one would know these things. Not unless they were watching me for years. Or had been there. He wasn't on the Uber app. I checked. My ride had been canceled minutes after I got in. This wasn't Eric. I was in a stranger's car. A flood of panic hit me, but I tried to stay calm. I asked him questions to keep him talking, hoping to find a clue, something, anything, that could help me understand what was happening. He dodged most of them, but then he said something that made my skin crawl. "We've met before. Don't you remember? You were crying outside that library when your dad died." I had never told anyone that. That night, that place, that moment. I hadn't even posted about it. I just sat there, 17 years old, hiding from the world. And now this man, this stranger, was recalling it like it was one of his favorite memories. I texted my friend a single word: help. He must have noticed because his grip on the wheel tightened. Then he made a hard right, off the route, down an alley. The kind of alley that looks like it's never had sunlight. I tried the door handle. Locked. My voice cracked as I asked him to let me out. He didn't even glance at me, just smiled wider. His teeth were crooked, yellow, like he hadn't smiled in years, and now couldn't stop. "I'm taking you somewhere safe," he whispered, "where no one can hurt you again." That's when I lunged for the back door's lock, pulled it, slammed my shoulder into it. Nothing. The child lock was on. But I remembered something, the window. I scrambled to roll it down. It was manual. I twisted it furiously. Inch by inch, the rain soaked through. I could almost fit my arm through. That's when he reached back. Not fully. Just enough for his hand to graze my knee. "You're going to ruin everything," he said. The car slowed as it approached a chained lot behind an abandoned warehouse. That's when I made the decision. I had no other choice. I kicked the window, again and again. The third time, it cracked. He slammed on the brakes, screamed something unintelligible. The window shattered. I didn't think. I dove through the jagged glass, cutting open my side, my elbow. My feet hit the pavement, and I ran. I scraped half my leg off on the concrete, but I ran. I didn't stop, and I never looked back. I don't know how far I made it before someone found me. A security guard working nearby who heard the commotion. He called 911. I was shaking so hard they thought I was having a seizure. The police arrived. They found the Camry, empty. But in the trunk, they found old photos. Of me, years old. Some of them taken from outside my school, my job, my bedroom window. They never found him. Not really. No name, no registration. The plates were stolen. The VIN scratched off. It was like the man, whoever he was, didn't exist. I changed my name after that, moved cities, never told anyone, not really, until now. Because you deserve to know what's out there. Because the next car you get in might not take you home. Comment if you've ever had a rideshare that felt off. You might not be alone. This happened to my cousin Levi. He lives in Salt Lake City. Pretty normal guy, doesn't scare easy, but he hasn't ridden in a cab since this night. It was late, like 1:30 a.m. He'd had a few drinks and called a cab instead of Uber. Old school, yellow taxi. The driver was a big guy, quiet, wore sunglasses, at night. The kind of man whose silence feels louder than words. The car smelled like motor oil and stale cologne. It rattled with every bump. And Levi noticed the radio was playing, but it wasn't music. It was static. Loud, hissing static. Like someone was trying to find a station, but never did. 10 minutes in, Levi hears movement in the trunk, like a thump. Then, a dragging sound. At first, he thought it was his imagination. Maybe something rolling around back there. A spare tire or a jack. But then, the sound came again. Slower, more deliberate. He leaned forward. "Hey man, did something fall over in the trunk?" The driver didn't turn, didn't blink. Just said, "Old car, makes weird sounds." But the sound didn't stop. It got louder, heavier. It wasn't metal shifting. It was weight, movement. And then came the sound Levi could never forget. Breathing, shallow, raspy. From behind the back seat. Trying to stay calm, Levi coughed, pretended to stretch, and looked through the rearview mirror. What he saw, he still dreams about it. Just barely visible through the seam between the seats was an eye. Wide open, staring, terrified. A woman's face, in the trunk. Eyes wide, taped mouth. Levi's blood turned to ice. Every instinct screamed at him, "Run!" But how? He reached for his phone, opened the camera, snapped a photo of the trunk seam, sent it to his roommate with his live location, and a message that simply said, "Call cops, I'm not alone." Then he started to talk, loudly, like he was on the phone with someone. "Yeah man, I'm almost home. Yeah, just past that 24-hour gas station on 5th. You'll see me pull up any second." The driver's knuckles turned white on the steering wheel. "You have someone waiting for you?" Levi nodded, slowly. "Yeah, roommate. Big guy. Ex-military. Why?" The driver didn't answer. He started to speed up. The streets grew emptier, no more lights, just darkness and potholes. Levi unbuckled his seatbelt without a sound. He waited for the next red light. And when it came, he didn't hesitate. He threw open the door and screamed for help. They were at a red light. People turned. The cab sped off, vanished into the night. Levi ran to a nearby diner, locked himself in the bathroom, shaking. The photo he took, crystal clear. Police used it to identify the woman. She'd been reported missing 2 days before. They found her, barely alive, in a motel 30 miles away, still bound, still gagged. But the driver? Never caught. He had no license on file. The cab was an old model with fake medallions and an out-of-service number. Weeks later, Levi got an anonymous package. Inside was a Polaroid. Him, sitting in the cab, taken from the rearview mirror. The timestamp matched that night, and scrawled in Sharpie across the bottom was one sentence. "Next time, no red lights." He moved the next day. He doesn't drink anymore, doesn't ride cabs, doesn't sleep without the lights on. And every time his phone buzzes unexpectedly, he checks the lock on the door. This one still haunts me. 3 weeks ago, I was in San Diego for a conference, landed late, exhausted. I called a rideshare. Driver pulled up, black SUV, tinted windows, no license plate in front. But my app matched the car, so I got in. He asked, "Do you mind if I take a shortcut? GPS says it'll save 10 minutes. I was too tired to care. I just said, "Sure." We drove, for what felt like forever, past the city, into empty suburbs, then into woods. I looked at my phone. No signal. "Where are you going?" I asked. "Shortcut," he said again. I noticed something weird. The road wasn't on the GPS. In fact, we were off the grid entirely. Just a blank screen. "Can you stop the car? I think I'll walk." He didn't answer. I grabbed the handle, locked. He reached into the glove box and pulled out a roll of duct tape. That's when I screamed. I didn't care anymore. I screamed, like my life depended on it. Because it did. A light flashed behind us. Another car. I started waving, honking. The SUV slowed. The other car, a random guy in a pickup, must have seen me because he pulled up and yelled, "You okay?" That's when my driver stepped on the gas. Don't remember much after that. Cops said the pickup driver chased the SUV for 10 miles before it crashed into a ditch. Tape, zip ties, and a hunting knife. My photo was printed and stuffed in the glove box. It wasn't random. What the police didn't release publicly, but the driver of the pickup told me later, in private, was worse. He said the SUV didn't crash accidentally. The driver had aimed for the ditch, swerved violently, intentionally. The front end crumpled into a twisted wreck of steel and broken glass. But when they opened the door, the driver was gone. No footprints, no blood trail, just an empty driver's seat and the rear hatch swinging open, like something had been let out. They searched the woods for hours, nothing. The weirdest part? When they tried to pull up any record of the car, VIN, insurance, registration, it didn't exist. It was like the SUV had been scrubbed from every database. No record of ownership, no fingerprints, nothing. And then the dreams started. A week after the crash, I began waking up at 2:14 a.m. every night. No alarm, no sound, just awake. Every time, I'd find the GPS on my phone turned on, open to the exact location of the crash site. Even after I deleted the app, I changed phones. It kept happening. Then came the package. No return address, just a small black box, left outside my apartment door. Inside, a flash drive. On it, a single video file. It was dash cam footage from that night, only the footage didn't match what I remembered. The video showed me getting into the car, smiling, talking to the driver, laughing even, but the voice wasn't mine, and the driver's face wasn't human. It was blurred, but not in the usual digital way. It looked like it was moving, shifting, constantly changing, like the camera couldn't decide what it was looking at. The audio warped too. My words slowed into growls. The driver's voice echoed like it came from underwater. And then, in the final frame, the camera turned, somehow, and stared into the back seat, right at me. Only, I wasn't there. The seat was empty, just a folded note where I should have been. On it, scribbled in red ink, "Thank you for the ride." I haven't slept since. I moved across the country, changed jobs, got rid of every rideshare app I ever downloaded. But last night, I saw it again. Outside my apartment window, a black SUV, no plates, just sitting there, engine running, waiting. It started as the most normal thing in the world, a ride home from a party in Portland. My friend Nina booked the ride. It was a shared trip, We were both tipsy, laughing about something dumb, when the car pulled up, a black Prius, music playing low. The driver didn't say much, but that wasn't weird. But halfway through the trip, Nina got a notification. Our driver had canceled. "That's weird," she said, and showed me. The screen now said we had no driver assigned. We looked up. The driver was gone. Literally gone. The seat was empty. The wheel was turning on its own. We both screamed. The car swerved once, twice, then glided, slowly, to a stop by the curb. We scrambled out so fast, we dropped our bags. And the car? It just sat there, engine still running, door wide open. A few days later, Nina checked her rideshare history. That trip? It wasn't listed. And that black Prius? Stolen 3 years ago. The owner was never found. We thought we were going crazy. The cops barely listened. The officer that came to take our statement looked at us like we were drunk. Maybe we were, but not that drunk. We showed him the photo Nina took, a quick snap of the dashboard before we jumped out. But when he tried to view it on her phone, the file was corrupted. Black screen, static noise. That's it. I tried the same. Checked my own phone. I had taken a video. Shaky, sure. But I was sure I caught the moment we ran. But when I opened the app, it was gone. Deleted. Not even in the recently deleted folder. That night, we stayed at my place. Double-locked the door. Tried to sleep. Around 2:30 a.m. We heard it. The low hum of an engine. Just outside the window. We peeked through the blinds. And there it was. The Prius. Headlights off. Just sitting. Engine softly humming, like it was breathing. Nina said we should call the cops again, but when we looked back out the window, it was already gone. No taillights, no tire sound, just silence. The next morning, we thought maybe it was a hallucination, stress. But then we found the note, taped to my door. One sentence, all caps. "You didn't finish the ride." We started staying at hotels, moved apartments, stopped using rideshare altogether. But a month later, Nina disappeared. I came home one day, and her stuff was gone. No goodbye, no note. Her phone was left charging. She'd been in the middle of making tea. The kettle was still warm. The only thing out of place? A rideshare receipt, printed, taped to the wall. It listed a pickup time, 2:14 a.m. No destination, no driver, just one line at the bottom. "Thank you for riding with us again, Nina." That night, I sat in my dark kitchen until sunrise, too scared to move. Every sound made me flinch. Every shadow looked like it was shifting. At 2:14 a.m., my phone buzzed. A notification from a rideshare app I had deleted weeks ago. "Your driver has arrived." And when I looked out the window, the black Prius was there, waiting. This story came from someone I met on a travel forum. She was visiting New Orleans, solo trip. Late at night, she caught a cab outside a jazz club. She said the moment she got in, the driver locked the doors. Not unusual. Safety, right? Except they didn't head toward her hotel. He turned the wrong way. When she asked, he said he needed gas. But every gas station they passed, he didn't stop. Instead, they turned down a side road, then another, then a dirt path. That's when she saw it. A long, narrow driveway leading into pitch-black trees. A single flickering light at the end. She begged him to stop. He didn't respond. She pulled out her phone. No signal. Then she did something wild. She grabbed the gear shift and slammed it into park while the car was moving. The tires screamed. The car stalled. She jumped out, ran into the woods, didn't stop until she hit a road. Later, cops found that dirt path. It led to an abandoned house. Inside, they found ropes, chains, and a camera setup. The cab, still running, still empty. But that wasn't the end. 3 days later, she got a message. No number, just a text on her lock screen that read, "You left something behind." She ignored it, blocked the number, changed phones, but the messages kept coming, always at 3:17 a.m. Always the same message. Then, they changed. "Come finish what you started. We're not done. I see you." She moved back home, told her family she had a panic attack, that she needed time off. Didn't say the real reason. She thought it sounded insane. Until one night, her father found her, standing in the driveway, barefoot, staring into the woods behind their house, not moving, just whispering, "He's still out there." She doesn't remember that night, but her dad swears, and he would bet his life on it, that there was a yellow cab parked at the end of their street. No driver, no engine sound, just waiting. He walked toward it, said it vanished, not drove away, vanished. Since then, she's been to therapists, sleep clinics, hypnosis. Nothing helps. Every night, at 3:17, she wakes up. Her phone always reads one new message. "Let me drive you home." She doesn't use cars anymore, not even with friends. She walks. Everywhere. But a week ago, she found a taxi receipt under her pillow. It had her name, the exact date, and a drop-off location, the dead-end street. This story comes from a Reddit thread I stumbled across years ago, posted by a guy named Carter, who lived in rural Pennsylvania. He was working late shifts at a hospital and had gotten into the habit of calling rideshares instead of driving. Too tired most nights, he said. One night, around 2 a.m., he called for a ride home. Driver's name was Mike, black sedan. The car looked clean. Music was playing low, jazz. Carter got in the back seat and immediately felt something off. He described it like this. It felt like someone had just been sitting where I was, like the seat still held a body. It was warm, slightly damp. He brushed it off. Late shift paranoia. But a few minutes into the ride, he started hearing something. A rhythmic clicking, almost like breathing, but not from the driver. It was coming from under him. At first, he thought it was something with the suspension. Then it shifted, literally moved. The sound relocated, from beneath him to behind his left ear, then to the right. Then, silence. He leaned forward and asked Mike, "Is something in the car?" Mike didn't turn around, didn't speak. Carter's heart rate kicked up. He glanced at the rearview mirror. Mike's eyes weren't looking at the road. They weren't moving at all, just fixed, glassy, as if he was staring through the windshield or into nothing. Then, out of nowhere, the radio cut out. White noise, loud, angry. For 3 seconds, then silence again. "I can pull over," Carter said. Still nothing. Then the voice came. Not from the driver, not from the speakers, from the seat. It whispered. Soft, female, impossible to mistake. "He can't hear you, but I can." Carter slammed his fist against the door. Locked. He reached for his phone. No signal. Then the smell hit. Like rotting meat, soaked in vinegar. So strong, it burned his nose. "Let me out!" he screamed. Mike didn't flinch, didn't blink, but the voice whispered again, "You're already here." They weren't moving anymore. The car had stopped in the middle of a narrow road, surrounded by trees. No lights, no houses, just endless dark. Carter kicked the backseat window. Once, twice. It cracked. He kicked again. Shattered. He climbed through, cut his hands, hit the ground, running. He didn't stop until he saw headlights. Real ones. A truck approaching. He flagged it down. The driver took one look at him and called the police. When they went back to find the car, it was gone. No tire marks, no glass, nothing. Carter quit his job the next day, moved to Florida, deleted every app. But here's the part that chills me. And Carter too, based on his last post. 1 year later, to the day, he got a package. Inside was a single object. The backseat headrest, torn, stained, and a note tucked into the slit. We remember everyone who sits with us. He deleted his Reddit account after that. No one's heard from him since. This story came from a woman named Clarissa, who worked as a bartender in Las Vegas. She posted about it once, then deleted her account within hours, but not before it spread. She had just finished a brutal Saturday night shift. Tips were good, but she was exhausted. It was just after 3 a.m. when she ordered a ride home through a rideshare app. A car arrived, black Honda Civic. No visible damage, nothing sketchy. The driver's name was listed as Don. 4.8 stars. Looked like someone's uncle. Polo shirt, gray beard, friendly smile. Rough night? He asked as she got in. She nodded. The worst. I'll get you home fast, he said. Same place as last time? She froze. What? He smiled into the mirror. Your apartment, off Fremont, like always. Her stomach dropped. She had never seen this man before, never taken a ride with him, and worse, she'd recently moved. Her last place was off Fremont, 2 apartments ago. You must have the wrong rider, she said, heart racing. Nah, he replied casually. You just forgot. I remember everything. She pulled out her phone. The app still showed she was in the ride, but the route didn't make sense. It looped through back roads, alleys, nowhere near her actual address. She tried to open the door. Locked. I know where you sleep, Clarissa, the driver said. I've watched you walk your dog at 7:12 every morning. I've seen what you keep in that red box under your bed. She screamed, demanded to be let out, but he just kept driving, calm, controlled, as if this were routine. She opened the rideshare app, hit the emergency button, but it didn't work. Nothing worked. The app froze. Her phone shut down. Battery issue, Don said from the front. Happens to a lot of riders in my car. Must be the charger. He reached into the glove compartment, pulled out something that made her blood run cold. A taser. She lunged forward from the back seat, started punching, screaming. She managed to grab the steering wheel and jerk it hard. The car swerved, slammed into a curb and spun out. She threw herself against the back door. This time it popped open. She fell into the street, bruised and bleeding, and ran. A bakery delivery truck saw her, took her in, called the police. When they returned to the crash site, no car, no tire marks, nothing. But for days afterward, she received messages from an unknown number. No words, just pictures. Pictures of her, at work, in her bedroom, walking her dog. The final photo showed the inside of a car, backseat view, her face, sleeping. This story was shared anonymously in a podcast forum. The storyteller claimed he was a driver himself, freelance, worked both Uber and Lyft, had over 2,000 rides, said he used to love the job, until one night broke him. He was driving through rural Alabama late one Friday, no traffic, dead roads. A ping came in, a pickup from a gas station just off a quiet highway. Passenger name, Travis. Profile pic, blank. No rating. He pulled up. The place was closed, just flickering lights, a dusty parking lot, and a man, standing motionless under the overhead canopy. "Travis?" the driver asked. The man said nothing, just nodded and got in the back seat. He was pale, soaked in sweat, eyes wide open, unblinking. Didn't say a word. The destination was strange. A single coordinate ping, not a street address. 42 miles away, deep into the forest. The driver hesitated, said he didn't normally take unlisted drop-offs that far out, but the app offered a double rate. He needed the money. "You okay back there?" he asked. No answer. Just breathing, loud, wet. 10 minutes in, the driver glanced in the mirror. The back seat was empty. He slammed the brakes, heart racing, got out, ran around the car, opened the rear door. Nothing. He checked the app. Still said, "Passenger in vehicle." Suddenly, the front door opened. Travis was in the front seat now. "Drive," he whispered. The driver didn't argue. He drove. The road got narrower. Trees pressed in on either side. The GPS froze, then turned itself off. "Where are we going?" the driver asked. "You'll know when we get there," Travis said. His voice was cracked, dry, like he hadn't spoken in days. After another 20 minutes, they reached a clearing, a one-room wooden cabin with a single bulb swinging outside. Travis got out, but didn't close the door. He leaned back in and whispered, "You'll be back tomorrow. Same time, same place. Don't be late." And then he walked into the woods. The driver peeled off, heart hammering, didn't stop until he reached a diner 2 counties away. He quit Rideshare the next day. But every Friday since, his phone pings. 2:14 a.m. Same pickup location, same passenger. Even though he deleted the app, changed phones, changed his number. And one night, it wasn't a ping. It was a knock on his front door. When he opened it, there was no one there. Just a note. "You're late." This one was posted on a paranormal investigator forum by a woman named Letitia, a nurse who often worked the night shift. She wasn't someone who believed in ghosts, not until she accepted a rideshare request one stormy Sunday morning in Austin. It was 3:03 a.m., pouring rain. Her ride showed up. Gray minivan, 4.7 stars. She jumped in the back because the front seat was filled with what looked like old toys, dolls, a plastic fire truck, a child's booster seat. She didn't think much of it. Parents use rideshare all the time. The driver didn't say a word, just looked at her through the mirror and nodded. The moment they started driving, she felt uneasy. Not because of the driver, but because of something behind her. She turned to look, and there, in the very back row, was a child, pale, soaking wet, maybe 6 or 7, wearing a hospital gown. "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize someone else was in here," Letitia said. The driver said nothing. She turned again. The child was gone. She blinked, rubbed her eyes, turned again. The child was back. She shouted, "There's a kid in the back. Should I be worried?" Still nothing from the driver. Then her phone vibrated. She looked down. New message from the rideshare app. "You have been selected for a reroute. Estimated arrival, unknown." She panicked. Tried to unlock the door, it was stuck. Then the child spoke. "We're all going to the same place." Leisha froze. The voice didn't sound natural. It was like a recording, played backward. She leaned forward, shouted at the driver, "Let me out!" Finally, he spoke. "We're almost there." The road outside was unfamiliar, flooded, covered in branches. They weren't anywhere near her address. She looked back one more time, and now, There were 3 children in the van, each one pale, gowned, mouths open, but none were breathing. She grabbed her purse, smashed the side window with her thermos, and climbed out while the van was still rolling. Landed hard, rolled, bruised her ribs. The van didn't stop. It kept going. Into the woods. She flagged down a truck, was taken to the hospital. The driver? Never found. But here's the part she never told police. Just the forum. In her hospital room, there was a window that looked out to the parking lot, and for 3 nights straight, a gray van sat beneath that window. No engine, no driver, just 3 empty child seats. And every morning, they were turned to face her window. This story came from a college student named Amin, who took night classes in a small town outside Seattle. He'd usually bike home, but one foggy night, he wasn't feeling great. He called a cab instead, not a rideshare, an actual local taxi company. He remembered the driver as normal, older man, polite, said he'd worked the late shift for 20 years. They made small talk. The fog outside was thick, like wool. The windows fogged up too. Amin couldn't see a thing. "Where'd you say you live?" the driver asked. "Green Ridge Apartments, past the train station." The driver nodded, but something about his tone felt off. About 15 minutes in, Amin realized something. They hadn't passed the train station. In fact, they hadn't passed anything. Just winding roads, trees, and fog. He looked at his phone. No bars. "Hey, did we take a wrong turn?" he asked. The driver didn't respond. Amin repeated himself, louder. This time, the driver said, "Almost there," but it didn't feel right. They turned down a narrow 1-lane path, lined with fence posts, rusted, warped. The road turned into gravel, then into dirt, and then they stopped. Ahead was a structure, brick, old. A sign, barely visible through the mist, read, "Green Ridge Terminal." Only, that station didn't exist. Amin had lived here 4 years. There was only one train station, and it sure as hell wasn't buried in the woods. "This isn't it," he said. "This isn't my stop." The driver turned around. His eyes were gone. Not injured, just absent. 2 dark holes, where they should have been. "You're home now," he said. The locks clicked, the engine cut off, and the headlights dimmed. Amin screamed, kicked the door. It wouldn't budge. He pulled at the handle so hard, it snapped. And then, the car began to sink. The ground underneath, soft, swampy, started swallowing the tires, inch by inch. Amin crawled into the front, opened the glove box. Inside, old driver's licenses, dozens, cracked, molded, all from missing people across the state. He found a tire iron, smashed the window, crawled out, cutting his back, ran like his life depended on it, because it did. He flagged down a delivery truck, cried, tried to explain. The driver took him to a police station. When they returned to the spot, nothing was there. No tire marks, no road, no terminal, just fog, and one broken piece of plastic on the ground. A license plate, faded, rusted, but still visible. It read, GRNRDG. He never took another ride again. These weren't accidents. These weren't misunderstandings. These were predators, waiting behind the wheel. So the next time you get into a rideshare, make sure the car matches. Make sure the license plate is right. And always, always trust your gut. Because some rides take you somewhere worse than your destination. They take you to the end of the line.